We have a brand new t-shirt drop at loveUFOshop.com. Link in the description below. Please check them out and support the channel. Hey everyone! So let me start off by saying apologies for not making very much content this last month of February. You see, the crew and I have been extraordinarily busy with our 9-to-5s, and we also lost one of our crew members, Crystal, because she recently got a job in Denver and she won't be part of the crew anymore, unfortunately. Her input will be very sorely missed. So for now, it's just me and Dave. And believe it or not, we're still very eager to bring you more content in the upcoming months. So today, we won't be analyzing any UFOs, but instead, we'll be looking at some stories of UFOs and some that are not UFOs. So let's go ahead and begin with our first video. So did you all see this tweet from Hawaii? Someone who works in aviation here on the island received communications that there were F-22s intercepting a UFO. UFO meaning unidentified flying object to them. I wonder what the fighter pilots saw, it being a stationary object. The aviation person told me that the UFO is many miles offshore from Princeville over the ocean. It remained in one spot for at least 40 minutes. Clouds covered the UFO from Kapaki position. Perhaps it's still in the sky at 6:56 p.m.? And along with this tweet, there's also a couple of pictures and even a video. So let's go ahead and take a look at that.
So very strange. I just came out to sit out here while Nicholas is doing his conditioning training, and I don't know what's going on, man. These planes or whatever they are going one direction, then the other direction, and then there's this bright light out there. I have no idea what that is. I mean, it's not even sundown yet. See, there's the sun. Set will be down there, but it hasn't set yet. Here, yep, there's another one. And they're just going like all over, back and forth. And then this bright thing, I don't know what it is. Standing still. So, if anybody knows, let me know.
Pretty interesting stuff, huh? The person said that these planes were monitoring the object totally stationary. That, in turn, actually reminds me of what I saw in Cypress, Texas. Do you guys remember that? If you missed it, I'll put a link to that video up here so you can check it out, but it's actually very similar. It hung around stationary, looking very bright, almost like a star in broad daylight. Let's go ahead and take a look at the object in the video. And then the one in my video. I'm not saying it's the same object, but it just looked very similar to me. I'd be interested to know what you guys think about this one, and if you've seen something similar in your experience. Let me know in the comments down below. Next, I wanted to share with you these coordinates from Google Earth of Antarctica, where if we zoom in here, we get an familiar shape. What do you think this is? Well, of course, the most obvious answer would be an iceberg of sorts. But hey, you know, we are on a UFO channel, so we do indeed have to take into account that it looks pretty strangely metallic and disc-shaped. Then, if we really want to get crazy with the entire thing, we could look at this hole in the ice over here and begin to maybe think that the two things are related. But are we looking at an iceberg? Well, let's look around the area at other formations off the coast and see if we see anything similar to our main object. And I mean, most of them are very white and clearly ice, because if we go back and look at our object, it looks pretty different. But upon further looking around, we do indeed see that other things kind of look a little bit like a metallic disc, like this one here. So yeah, our main object most likely is an iceberg. But hey, isn't it fun to find cool stuff on Google Earth? By the way, on this channel, we have featured pretty interesting stuff that we found online when it comes to Google Earth and UFOs. I'll link some of those things here up above so you can check that out. Next, I really wanted to recommend this Lex Fridman Podcast featuring Gary Nolan, a professor at Stanford University School of Medicine that is actually open to the notion of studying UFOs. As a matter of fact, the entire podcast was dedicated to the subject. Here's a piece of what you can expect from that episode.
You've also looked at UFO materials. You are in possession of UFO materials yourself. claimed UFO materials.
Alleged UFO materials. That's right. So, what's another term? Weird materials that don't seem to
That have a story.
They have a story that doesn't seem to be of natural origins, but it's not. There's a process to proving that, and that process may take decades, if not centuries, because you have to keep pulling at the string and discover where they could possibly come from. But anyway, you're in possession of some materials of this kind. Can you describe some of them, and maybe also talk to the process of how you investigate them? How do you analyze them?
Right. So let's say that there's two classes of materials that I've been given by people, and they're not given by like the government or anything, just given people who've collected them, and there's a reasonable chain of evidence associated with them that you believe it's not just a pebble somebody picked up off a road. There are almost always things that people have claimed have either been dropped off as like some sort of a leftover material, molten metals, or they are from an object that was released from this that kind of exploded. They're almost always metals. I have some couple of things that might be biological that are interesting that I haven't really spent a lot of time on yet. When you look at a metal, you basically, what are the elements in it? And what's it made of? And so there's pretty standard approaches to doing that. Most of them involve a technology called mass spectrometry. And there's probably about 5 or 6 different kinds of mass spectrometry that you could bring to bear on answering it. And they either tell you, depending upon the limit of the resolution of the instrument, they either tell you the elements that are there, or they tell you the isotopes that are there. And you're interested not just in knowing whether something is there or not, you're interested in knowing whether there are, the amounts of it. And in the case of elements, how many different isotopes are there? And that's kind of where, in some of these cases, it gets interesting, right? Because in at least one of the materials, as we first studied it, the isotope ratios of, in this case, it was magnesium, are way off normal. And I just don't know why. It doesn't prove anything. It just, all it proves is that it was probably accomplished by some kind of an industrial process. Whether it's the result of a process, or whether, and this is sort of the leftover, or whether it was made that way for a particular purpose, I don't know. All I know is that it was engineered. That's it, right?
Now, I listened to the entire podcast, and it's a really, really good one. And you can really tell that Lex is really open to the notion that perhaps alien visitation is a thing that has happened here on Earth. I highly recommend the podcast. I'll go ahead and link it in the description down below. Lastly, I wanted to share with you this. Not actually on the UFO subject, but still odd. Did a time traveler leave evidence of future tech in this painting? Have you spotted it yet? The painting by Umberto Romano, titled Mr. Pinchon and the Settling of Springfield, depicts a scene of settlers arriving to the area in 1630. But there's something kind of strange about this painting. Take a look at this Native American fellow. What the heck do you think he's holding? Now, I'm sure we're all very familiar with this pose, as I'm sure we see it in our everyday lives, and it looks exactly like a man holding a modern-day iPhone. I mean, even the corners of the thing he's holding are rounded, and the rim around it almost seems silver. Now, historians say that the object depicts a mirror or a small book of some kind. But, I don't know. It kind of reminds me of this video from 1928, where this woman walking around sure does look like she's talking on a cell phone. I mean, I know it's highly unlikely, but wouldn't it be awesome if time travelers actually existed? Something else that could be going on in this painting, and bear with me here because I'm about to get real woo-woo, is that I'm of the personal belief that sometimes people have visions. And maybe this artist had a vision of the future where everybody's holding something just like this in their hand. I mean, look at the guy's thumb position. It almost looks like he's about to send a text. And if he really did get this vision, then, I mean, that may have inspired him to make this Native American depict what he saw in his vision. I mean, I don't know, of course, it could all be crazy talk, but hey, crazier things have happened. So that's it. We're so very glad to be back making videos, and we have a few more stories to cover in upcoming episodes, both new and old. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already. As always, this is Jesse, and let's keep our eyes to the sky, our cameras ready, and an open mind, because we love the UFOs. Till next time.